Welcome back everyone. In this lesson we are going to talk about parallel execution against the Selenium server grid. Now, in our previous lesson about parallel execution, we discussed and showed how you can execute your tests in parallel on your local machine. And there we had the bottleneck of the number of CPUs that you have on your machine. So if you go above that, your machine will start to be very sluggish. Now to fix that, you can use something like Selenium Grid, where you have one hub and you can have as many nodes as you want connected to that hub. So in this way, you can scale your infrastructure and achieve a high level of concurrency. Now, the way the architecture works is pretty simple. You have a Selenium hub and then you spawn and connect as many nodes as you want to that hub. The hub is in charge of coordinating the test execution. It will send commands to the nodes, while the nodes are in charge of actually executing your tests and providing the browsers. So each node will have its own capabilities, meaning browsers that it can use. The recommendation is to use a separate physical or virtual machine for each of your hub and nodes. So let's get started and actually implement this. Now, in order to set up your Selenium grid, it's very simple. You just need to navigate to Selenium dev /downloads and then go to Selenium server grid and download the latest version from here, which in my case it's 4.4.0. So I just downloaded that. You can see it over here. The next step will be to spawn our hub. Now to do that, I'm going to open a new tab in my terminal. I'm going to navigate to the place where I downloaded my jar file, which is called Selenium server. And to start the hub, you simply need to type java -jar, the name of the jar, and then specify hub at the end of it. Press enter, and this will spawn your Selenium hub on the default port, which is 4444. Okay, now that we have the hub set up, let's open a new tab, navigate again to our jar file, and this time I want to spawn a node. Now to spawn a node, you need an additional environment variable that is mentioned over here in the Selenium grid page of the Playwright documentation. So you need to tell Playwright the name of the hub for each node. So we need to set up this SE node grid URL for each of the node that you will spawn. Let's copy this. Let's go to our terminal, and the IP for my hub is localhost. So let's type localhost, and then I'm going to continue with the normal command for starting a node, which is java jar Selenium server. Then we are going to specify that this is a node, and we are also going to, since we will have multiple nodes, I'm going to spawn another one after this. I'm also going to specify a port for it. So now what it will happen, it will try to connect to the default hub, which is already set up, and you can see over here it has successfully spawned. And if we go to our hub, it also saw that a node has been added to it. Let's go on ahead and add our second node. I'm going to copy the command I just used over here. Go to the downloads folder, copy my command, and I'm just going to modify the port, this one. Okay, this has finished, and we can also see on our hub address that it saw the second node going up. So what you can also do is navigate to localhost, host. So you can go to localhost 4444/UI, and here you can see you have an overview with the two nodes that we just set up. You can see the capabilities of each node. So right now I can run Chrome and Safari browsers on each machine. And we will also be able to see the sessions. So the sessions are the actual test execution against the hub. Okay, the last step in our exercise is to actually run the test. So I'm going to show you again something from the documentation. When you start your test using Maven, you need to specify Selenium remote URL and specify over here the address of the hub. So I'm going to also copy this, going back to my terminal. Okay, so now I want to execute my test. I'm simply going to copy the command and modify the hub URL, which will be localhost in our case, and then press enter. So this should start our test execution. We should see some browsers. So I'm going to fast forward. So you can see that the two browsers have been spawned over here. And also if you go to localhost/UI, we can see over here that the two sessions for our two tests are now active, meaning that the tests are being executed. Now under overview, we can see the number of concurrent executions that occur on our nodes. So I'm going to fast forward to the actual results of the test. Okay, so as you can see over here, our test execution is now finished. All of our tests have now passed. And this concludes everything for this lesson. See you guys in the next one.